always makes me crazy to think, or to see like how much money it costs to run this business, you know. It's always a little wild to add it all up at the end of the year. But anyways.
Yeah, I bet. Well, we started recording, man. Thank you for doing this. Man, we did a podcast actually here at this couch for something else I had going on at the time. We had a little, I don't know if you remember a little, maybe a ghost incident. I don't know if you remember
Oh yeah. Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I remember that.
Where this mask just moved by itself on the top corner here where the base is at on my right there. There's a mask kind of hanging there. The mask just kind of whoop.
Yeah.
And
Totally remember.
yeah,
That's creepy.
a little creepy, but
It
you were,
still haunts my dreams.
huh?
I still dream about that. It's yeah, it freaks
Yeah,
me out.
it was a life-changing experience. But right as I pressed recording, you're telling me that you're working on your taxes for music, and to run your business. So I guess let's start with that for those that are thinking about starting a music business. In your case, having a high quality production studio. As people can tell, behind you there's a studio, and your studio, it's one of the nicest studios I've been to, and it's not like your small little bedroom studio like I have here. It's like this is your business, right? So how much work to start did you put into that? And how much, as you say, at the end of the year, didn't realize how much it costs you to run a business like that? Can you talk a little bit about that for those that are wondering about it? Because, one thing that the pandemic kind of helped people in one way is to kind of set a north. I feel like a lot of people kind of had time to think and figure out what they want to do. And a lot of it was music. I feel like YouTube music exploded during the pandemic. A lot of these studios, a lot of people that create content for music, that kind of exploded. So can you talk about a little bit about that?
Well, the question of what would I rec people who want to do this is always an interesting one, because the circumstances that I started 17 years ago, I started the studio in 2009. But before that, I recorded bands, and I charged for it. Like when I was in college, I recorded several records at different spots. One time it was at an outdoor golf course. Like before it opened, we recorded a blues record for this blues band. And then I moved back to Corpus and started the studio in 2009. And I mean, obviously the difference between 2009 and what's possible today in 2026, it's just like, it's two different worlds, you know? I mean, I'll be straight up honest with you. I don't know if I would recommend starting a studio in 2026. I think that is extremely risky. That's just me being like totally straight up.
No, that's good.
Yeah, there are so many. Well, first of all, it's very expensive, which that doesn't matter. My main concern, which I'm sure we'll get into, is that I'm just not sure how long studios are even going to be a viable thing. I mean, like, I don't think anyone knows that for sure. We can't see into the future, but yeah, I would not recommend like a 20-something-year-old dude starting a professional studio unless you have like very deep roots with a bunch of bands and like, you already have like something established. Yeah, I think the risk level is just like off the charts right now for something like that. But I mean, you asked how much did I work at this? I mean, I've worked at this for like 17 years. I don't take vacations. I don't really buy anything for myself. I buy cigars.
I'd be screwed then.
Yeah. Yeah, the last vacation I took was my honeymoon, I think 10 years ago. So I think you have to absolutely love this to the point where it's ridiculous. You know, it's like, this is not something that you get into to make a lot of money for 99% of people doing this kind of work. You know, this is something that you have to be totally dedicated to. and and kind of pour your heart and soul into it. And for me, it pays the bills. I consider myself extremely lucky that I can now support my family. My wife doesn't work. When we had our first child almost 4 years ago, we made a decision. Hey, we're going to try you not working, and let's just like pray to God that I can, support the family off of this recording studio. And so far it's worked. But sacrifices had to be made for sure to make that happen. We had to sell a car. So we went down to one car. I went through all our bills and just like asked, can we cut this back? Can we cut that back? Can we cut that back? So I consider myself very lucky that I get to do music for a living, and it actually provides for a family. But yeah, I don't know, man, like about the whole, what would you recommend to someone today? It's so different now. It's just, I don't know.
Yeah, because it's a blessing and a curse, right? How fast technology moves. So
Right.
in one way, for us musicians and bedroom recorders, we have technology progressing to a point where it's scary. Like 10 years ago, you as a studio owner, I don't know if you could have foreseen how fast this technology has moved to the point where before, obviously, 10 years ago, could you record an album from your bedroom? Yeah, you could have. A lot more difficult than nowadays, I think. I think nowadays it's just become so much easier with plugins and the way the machine learning has been incorporated into technology, like the quad cortex that I use, and the Helix Stadium or the Fender Tone Master or the Camper. And like,
Yeah.
I remember one time I went to your studio to do that track where there's several musicians learned a medley of songs, and that time I was using the Camper and you had the Camper, and at the time I was like, man, this is really cool, this Camper thing, and I never usually used it or heard it before. But nowadays, like, now the Camper, like, I haven't really heard Camper's name in the like in the modular space, because other companies have just kind of came up and took the forefront of it. Like Fender, for example, is just off the charts how good the Tone Master is. Neuro DSP, it's off the charts how good the Quad Cortex is. And we can get these, like the Quad Cortex just released like a new, I think my camera started, there you go. My camera was following me. Quad Cortex can use a new technology that it does, it upgraded how well it captures real amps. Right. Obviously, real amps are something like a tube amp it works different. It's not this digital thing. It's the tubes eating the amps, and then the sound waves coming through and hitting the air. It gets to the microphone. Like all these things add a degree of authenticity to it that I think modulars don't do it yet. But it is pretty damn close. And nowadays I feel like there's almost been this reversal. Like people were going through using the digital stuff and going through Logic or any sort of DAW and using the plugins and getting really good sounds out of it. But after a while, in my opinion, some of that music started to kind of sound the same.
Yeah.
Like the tones don't really change that much. And now I feel like there's been a revival of tubed amps where bands are recording again with tubed amps and stuff. And you can tell like there's just that something else, like the little spark that's not there with stuff. And I recorded the Seattle Rising album here at my house. I use all the plugins, I use everything, and it sounds good. It sounds like you can't really, like for an untrained ear, you can't really tell. But for a musician that sits in front of an amp or put the amp in the room, like there's a major difference. But like I was getting to before, it's a blessing and a curse to where the technology has improved. And in one way, for somebody like me, I can record an album from my bedroom much better than I would have 10 years ago. And then for you, I don't know if in the last 10 years you've experienced a decrease in clientele because the technology has gotten so good.
Yeah, whenever it was early on in the studio life, I was worried about home studios. I thought, oh man, because that was really when like interfaces were getting a lot better and latency was going down, and obviously home studios was a thing even back in the 80s, but I was worried about it, and it has not had an effect. I'll be honest with you. The home studio thing has not had an effect. Every year I work at 5 days a week all year. Nothing has affected me. Thank God, but I do think this. I think I'm riding this wave with my contemporaries, and we're just going to ride the wave till the end. So am I getting a lot of like 18-year-olds calling me to record? 22-year-olds? No, I'm not. But I'm riding the wave with everybody that I started with. And then everybody kind of in their circles hears about me. And so that's like,
Word of mouth still works very well.
Yeah, that's who I'm doing this with. I'm not doing this with like young people, because I think they're finding other ways to make music, um, and it probably does not have a whole lot to do with the traditional recording studio paradigm. But yeah, I mean, going back to what you were talking about with amp sims and stuff, this is the way I think about it, dude. Like, the fun factor is so important to me. And what do I mean by that? I think it applies to like all technology. Can I use a Kemper? I still have my Kemper. It's right there. Yeah, you can use it. And I agree with you. It sounds, I mean, I think all the amp sims sound just as good as real amps. I mean, I don't think, yeah, I think you're right. Like, no one can tell the difference. I think there's a feel difference. Like, if you plug into an amp and you know how to play guitar, it feels different. Like, the way it responds to you, to your hand, there is a difference there, but sound quality wise, there's no difference. However, fun factor, there is a big difference. It is much more fun to get a real amp and turn it up and mic it up and twist real knobs and feel the sound coming out into the room. That is much more fun than just plugging it into a box, like there's no question about that,
Yeah.
And so, and I think you could also argue that, it's much more fun to get a group of musicians in a room together and make music. Can you do that just by yourself in your bedroom? Yeah, you can do that by yourself in your bedroom, but it's much more fun to like get people together and have a real drum kit instead of programming everything, and have a real amp and like be a band, And so I think we lose something pretty important whenever we rely too much on the technology. And I'm not saying don't do it. I'm not like judging anybody for making records however they want to, but I think the experience and the fun factor are still relevant to like creating music the traditional way, where you're with a band and you go record it at a recording studio. I think there's always going to be a market of people that want that. And so we're kind of going back to the original question, like talking to a young guy, I do think there's still hope, but it's the slice of that pie keeps getting narrower and narrower every year. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's kind of like with everything. I think there might be like waves, right? This might just be a wave of young musicians or producers coming up or doing everything out of their bedroom, because for them, their first computer might be this M4 MacBook Pro, to where back in the day, like we had a Windows 95 computer, and it's much easier now for you to just kind of open up Logic or GarageBand and start programming and learning shit. And bam, you have a song. If you really work hard at it, in a month you have a song. I was like, well, if I recorded a song by myself here in my bedroom in a month, why do I need to go anywhere else? So then they just get better and better and better and better and better and better, and they keep going. But since this is a new thing, I'm wondering if, just like everything else, if there's going to be cycles to it, because trends go in and out of cycles. And right now, I saw a period where having real amps was going out of cycle, and now it's coming
Yep.
back around. So it might just be one of those things, you know. And for those young producers and musicians that are coming up, they themselves might find in 10 years from now, going to, or in a year from now, going to amps, real amps. Because I feel like it's good for everybody to experience a little bit of everything when it comes to technology in the space, you know, just try it out and see what happens. Like you're speaking about the latency thing. Just yesterday, Joseph Newman, my drummer for Seattle Rising, he sent me a link of this router looking thing. It's called the Loot Fish. I think it's what it's called. I don't know if you've been seeing
No.
ads for that. And you plug in the Ethernet cable in the back of it. There's two input jacks, one for a microphone, one for a cable, an instrument of any kind. And it allegedly it offers band practice remotely at 30 milliseconds, less than 30 milliseconds of delay. You
Yeah.
know, which is, if that's really true, that's crazy, right? That's really cool for, especially for those, for example, now we're going through what South Texas would call a snowpocalypse, and there's not even snow out there yet, but everybody's preparing for it.
Yeah.
And for places up north, for example, people are getting locked in their homes, they can't jam with their bandmates or their friends, and maybe they plug into one of those things, and then they can have remote band practice. You know, these are the pros and the cons of technology nowadays. But I agree with you; it's much more fun to sit in a room with people. You know, if we would have done that medley thing, everybody at their homes, it wouldn't have felt as fun as it was everybody learning the parts, going to your studio and doing the thing. You know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's like the badass factor. You know what I mean? It's you got to go through life and just be as fun and badass as possible for me. You know, and dude, like that's cool that you can plug in and have band practice over the internet. I mean, but and I understand like sometimes that has to happen, but man, like it's just so much more badass to like haul your equipment in and like have a fucking loud band practice, you know, like, and it's that kind of stuff that I just, it makes me sad that potentially like younger people coming up aren't having stuff like that. You know, it's like everybody's so isolated, and that's the thing. It's like, oh, it's cool that you can plug into this box, but you're still just isolated. And there's something really sad about that to me.
Again, it's pros and cons, right? Like for example,
Pros and cons.
like Joseph, he lives about an hour away from here, and sometimes he has to drive that hour to come here because he's the only one that lives an hour away, and then the three of us live right here in the same town. So it's just easier for one to relocate than three to relocate. And maybe there's one times like, you know, guys, my car is not starting or something. Let's just do it remotely today. But nothing substitutes everybody being in the room, and something happens and you just kind of look up real quick and you give a drummer a look. He's like, oh, that's right, we're going to change right here. And boom, you know, nothing substitutes that. Like
Right.
the human factor, the improvisation factor that can only happen when everybody's together in the room, you know?
Yep, absolutely. And yeah, and I'm sure we're going to talk about the whole AI thing, but that almost perfectly segues into it because, you know, we're choosing things now that take us so far from that group of guys in a room with instruments, hashing out ideas and creating something as a community. And now we're just swinging right back to the complete, total opposite of that.
You know what's funny? That's like the one stipulation that Rick and myself and Rez have said. If we're going to create music, we would like for everybody to be present in the room so we can all write songs. Because on the first two albums that we recorded with you, you know, it was like a compilation of songs. Like I had some songs and Adrian had some songs and Rick had some songs. And then Philip has, you know, all of the drumming parts are Philip's ideas, unless something else is stated, you know, and sometimes songs will transform themselves. You have an idea And when you get together, it just changes. So we said, if we're going to record, which is probably why we haven't written a new album yet, because as we gotten older, it just gets so much harder to get together. And that could be a benefit of having something like we just talked about, having the little box at home. If we're going to have practice and we can't get together, maybe we can do it like that, right? Again, pros and cons to everything.
Sure. Yeah.
But, there's nothing like everybody sitting in the room to create something. And some of the best Red songs or songs that I've written with other people have always been that, when there's like 3, 4, 5 people, however big your band is, writing stuff together. And that's, people watching this, they don't know these songs. I can put the link on the description, like Crosshairs that we recorded with you. It's kind of like that. I had a little guitar riff and I went to practice, we showed it, and then together as a band, we recorded it. And that could be, that's like that one song that every rest show we play. If we don't play Crosshairs, there's like a riot, and we're not even a big band.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's a song that 5 human beings kind of put their heads together and wrote.
Yeah. And I think the best music is born that way. If you look at breakthrough acts and people that really change things, which I'm not sure when the last time we had that was, someone like the Beatles, the Beach Boys, more contemporary, like Red Hot Chili Peppers, for example. I consider that like a breakthrough band where they did something totally new that no one had heard of before. I think that
the classic one for me is always Nirvana. Right? Nirvana was that one band that shook everything up in the 90s.
Yeah, the odds of that happening whenever people aren't getting in a room and making music together and getting their messy lives together to come up with something, the more we rely on technology, and definitely the more we rely on AI, the odds of that kind of thing happening now are just like so slim. I feel like new breakthrough genres that we've never heard before that really resonate culturally,
Yeah. So before we got together here, I sent you a text, and I guess we can dive into the AI thing. I was like, hey, can check these 2 songs out. And I told you to check out the original, was 18 in Life by Skid Row. And then I sent you an 18 in Life version of that same song as a 1950s sort of bluesy,
R&B, Motown
R&B.
kind of thing.
And I don't know if you agree with me, and I think you don't. But that 1950s version is really good. And it's stuff that I am like I've always been this way. And it's probably why I think I'm partial to this kind of thing. I've always been a really big fan of when mashups happen, like the Jay-Z and the Linkin Park thing. I loved that. I thought that was so out of the box, so cool. When you get songs that are in the same key, close enough tempo, and you mash them up together and you make a new song. Or like a good example of that is actually, I forgot to send this to you, but after the podcast, you can go check it out. It's called Indian, You're an All-Star. It's a mashup between Linkin Park's Indian and Smash Mouth All-Star, which is sung like the song is like so similar because it starts with the vocals are all stars, but the music is Indian. So it's the instrumentals of Indian and all stars vocals are on top of it. And it goes like bread and butter. Whoop. All you got to do is take one out and put one in. But that to me is like human creativity, right? Somebody did that. I mean, those songs were written by human beings. And then another human being decided, hey, these songs go together, and they just mashed them up. With AI, what you're doing is you're feeding songs to the machine learns it, and then over time, it just has this plethora of ideas, of genres, of everything that's ever been written in the history of music, and then it comes up with something like the R&B version of 18 to Life, which, again, to me, I really like that song. I like that song so much that when I play my solo gigs, I play that version of that song. Right?
That's wild.
Yeah, it is wild because I do that with like three other songs too. There's a Rob Zombie song, Dragula, which
Yeah.
the normal, the original version is super cool. But then I heard an R&B 950 style of Dragula, and it's kind of like stripped down, kind of like acoustic, and it fits really well into what I do because when I play solo, I play 80s, 90s, 2000s, alternative rock and rock music. And I slid that in there. I played that live at Cassidy's one time, and people were like, that's a really cool version. I play another song, Natalie Imbruglia. I don't know if you know that song, Torn. Nothing's fine, I'm torn. I'm all over the place. This is
Oh yeah,
how
yeah,
I
yeah,
feel. So
yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure.
there's like a 2000s hard rock version of that song that an AI machine spit it out. And I'm like,
Yeah.
this version is awesome. And I do that version live. So it's like, you know, pros and cons. But what are your thoughts about that?
Well, I'm gonna respectfully disagree with you. And obviously, this is. I think this really comes down to preferences. Obviously, I'm not a huge fan of like the bluegrass version of this heavy metal song. Whoa, that's cool. I've never been like, I think that's, I don't think it just doesn't strike a chord with me. When I heard I'd never heard that Skid Row song. And for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, it's 18 to Life. So,
Yeah.
and I read the lyrics. So the lyrics seem to be about a guy who's like an alcoholic, goes out,
Outcast,
goes
wild.
to a party, shoots a gun kind of like into nothingness, but it ends up killing a child. And
Yes.
so he's going to prison,
For life.
for life.
And he's 18.
And so
Yeah.
like, yeah, so that's the premise of the song. When I listened to the AI version first. And I immediately knew it was AI, like within the first 2 seconds.
Yep.
But as I'm listening to it, I'm hearing these lyrics, which are very heavy and like serious over this smooth R&B song. And I'm just thinking like, this is exactly why AI is so dumb. It's like, why would you put these like intense lyrics about this accidental death, and it's talking about switchblades and growing up in the streets and all this stuff. And then you're like hearing it over R&B. It's just like, man, this is like the bluegrass version of, Highway to Hell or whatever. It's just like,
Sure.
this does nothing for me, but I'm just giving you my like full take on it because I think it's just more entertaining. But I don't know. That to me is not. It just doesn't strike a chord with me, And
Because there's tons of channels, man. There's tons of channels now. If you go on YouTube and if you do a deep dive into AI covers, there's so many channels out there that do that kind of thing. And I think they passed some sort of legislation or a law. I'm not exactly sure what it was that or YouTube themselves said, these channels that do the AI cover thing, they don't get monetized, they don't get the money,
that's
which
totally
is
fair.
which is awesome, which is totally fair, and I agree 120% with that. But then again, it's just I enjoyed listening to that different version, and you're right, it is kind of like, why would that R&B 1950 guy be talking about this?
Yeah, because a human being a good producer would never
Right.
do that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because as a producer, you want the lyrics and the music to be married together, and you want what's rapping the lyrics to make sense. You want it to have a full united front in its emotional impact to the listener. And so like, I understand there's reasons to be ironic sometimes and to be like edgy or whatever by mismatching the two. But that's why I could tell like within the first 2 seconds, and then like hearing it for 15 seconds, not having heard the original version before, I'm just like, this just has AI written all over it, like someone typed this in, make this version of a song. Cause I had no idea what song it was. Like I was going in completely blind, but
well, that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, I get it. A lot of people like that kind of stuff. Take the stems, put these lyrics over this song, It just doesn't strike a chord with me. I
It's a
don't know
prompt,
why.
right? It just like, look, this is a song that's already written. Let's check it out in the style of the 50s. So just a prompt. And all you got to do is press enter,
Yeah,
or click, do it or whatever the hell it says. And then the AI is like, okay. And then it just kind of spits it out,
yeah.
There's no thought process behind it. The AI is not going to go to you and say, hey, I don't think this is a good idea. Right. It just
Right.
does it. It
Yeah,
just
because it
does it.
can't think. I
Right.
mean, it can't like AI. People anthropomorphize it. They think it's like thinking and has like a consciousness and everything, and it's not. It's just predicting what would be the most likely next step. That's all it's doing,
Ones and
and
zeros.
it's not actually thinking. But yeah, there's all kinds of crazy, like almost religious practices now around AI of people kind of thinking of this as almost like a god,
Yeah, I
which is
know.
pretty crazy.
No, I mean, there's obviously there's good ways to use it if you want to like improve your productivity with whatever it is that you do. Maybe use it to like analyze data, send it back to you. But if you want to trust it and double check your work, that's on you. But there's definitely ways to use it. I think it's being overused because of convenience. It's much easier to just ask it to do it for you than for you to go
Yeah.
ahead and do the work. And that's an issue with a lot of stuff nowadays. A lot of people are getting lazy.
Well,
You know,
convenience is our number one virtue, isn't it? That's our number one virtue here in the United States. Convenience.
everything's convenient nowadays.
Yeah.
Everything's
Yeah.
convenient. So that doesn't worry you, like the way the AI is going. It doesn't worry you as a producer and a business owner in music.
It does worry me, but I think that I'm riding the wave with the people that work with me from my generation, like my contemporaries and those that are older than me, that just cannot fathom creating music. Like, I guess can't fathom outsourcing their creative powers to a machine. And so that's why I'm saying, like, man, if I was 18 or 20, like, shoot, the way younger generations are using AI, I'd be really scared then. Like, but I think I'm going to ride the wave until I die with the people I know that believe in making music the way they are. And I think it'll work out. So I'm not necessarily scared for me. I'm just very bummed out for the younger generations that are really, it could be potentially replacing what makes them human. I mean, creativity is one of the few traits that makes us different from animals. It's like one of those traits. As a Catholic, I would say that's one of the key aspects of being made in the image of God, is like God created this whole universe, however he did it, right? And he instilled his image onto us. And one of those key factors is creativity. So when we use a machine to supplant that creative impulse and that creative drive, we're doing something that's really damaging, much more than I think people realize. It's really kind of taking away our humanity in a pretty serious way.
You don't
Which
think
I don't know.
God put in his interstellar computer a prompt to create?
Yeah, we don't know how he did it. Well, I
uh,
mean, I guess we kind of know, but
um, so we're talking about AI in production. I guess what really is going to separate it at the end, and if AI, I guess, is able to do this, that's when it's game over. I guess when it's like reproduce human emotion or like human flaws that really like shape and create music. Like for example, five guys are get to band practice and a fourth guy, and one of the guys is late and he comes in, he's all pissed. He's like, oh, traffic this, my job this, my wife this. He turns on the amp and then all the angry pent up emotion, he just writes a killer riff.
yeah,
And then the band's like, ooh, what's that? Let's work on that. He's like, I don't know. I just wrote this right now. I'm pissed.
yeah,
That happens a lot,
right,
all the time.
yeah. Well, that's the whole way we've made music until 2 seconds ago. It's all come from human emotion and life experience. And so, I mean, the thing is though, is there is an aspect of music that is just math. I mean, rhythms, melody, music theory, like there are only certain chords and sounds that go well together. You know, lyric writing, quite formulaic. So it doesn't surprise me that tech companies have created something that could make something sound just like music where it's indistinguishable. I think the song you showed me, 99% of people wouldn't know it was AI, you know?
No.
Like there are certain sonic things that are giveaways for it that it sounds kind of like an MP3, like the way the vocal sounds.
A little compressed, loss of quality kind of thing, you know?
Yeah, but it's a weird kind of thing because it's not like an MP3 loss of quality. I don't even know how to describe it, but you can hear it. You know, the trained person can hear it. But
I think like the crazy thing to think is like that's 99% of people, because for us, like we think of trained ears, like it's maybe less than 1% of the population.
Right.
Which is why these things are so popular, because people can't really discern it, or to them, like it makes no difference. There's like, you know, I listen to a lot of podcasts, and obviously I listen to Rogan's podcast a lot. And one thing that he always talked about is this 50 Cent version of Many Men. There's an R&B version of 50 Cent Many Men that it is incredible. I've heard it a couple times, and it's all right. But you know, they play it in the green room now before they go out and do their comedy sets, and it gets people fired up. But again, it's that less than 1% of the trained ears that are really going to be able to discern.
Yeah. And I think that's really the question. Like what's going to become of all of this? Because I'm on YouTube every night. Like that's my thing. That's my social media. And I watch a lot of history stuff. Right now I'm looking at the Crusades. That's my big thing right now. And like, I'll pull up a history video and you could tell, like, damn it, dude, this is AI. You know, this is made by AI. You can tell. And it's like, it's becoming hard to find videos that are made by people. And so, and it's scary, dude. The fact that people can't tell is scary. But yeah, that's just such a big picture question, right? Like how is society going to be when you can't trust what you're seeing? You know, is any of this real anymore? You know, I saw an ad for AI portrait, like for work, you know, like headshots. Like you can just upload this image of a crappy photo from your phone, and then it'll give you like the
headshot,
headshot for your LinkedIn and all that. And it's like, yeah, now we can't trust that. We can't even trust anything.
Again,
we
it's
see,
pros and cons, depends on people's situation. You know, I can see like somebody that this 18-year-old kid that's doesn't really have the means to go get a pro shot. He takes a picture on his phone, uses that to get a nice little thing that might have been overlooked if you would have just taken a photo here. You know, it's hard, man. You know, like I say, it's getting harder to really like think about what's even the correct way to go about this, if there is a correct way to go about it, because everything's evolving so quickly. What's to say, you know, like a headshot, you know, if you're going to tell that kid, hey, you can't do that. And the kid's like, I don't have an option. Like, so it starts to get like, where's the line drawn, and can we even draw a line? Because it's such a novel thing.
Yeah, it is. And this is the problem with human beings and their relationship with technology, because technology moves so fast that we cannot create ethics fast enough to keep up with it. So the nuclear bomb was created so fast relative to everything else that had happened up to that point in history. You know, like people have been using spears and bow and arrows and guns for hundreds and hundreds of years. And so we get this very quick, rapid development of a new type of weapon. and there's no ethics around it. There's no ethical system that we built up to like inform us how to use this properly. And it's the same thing with basically all technological advancement. Like, I think you can now look back at social media. When I was a freshman in college, that's when Facebook first came out. So it was originally only available to college students. Like, the general public couldn't get it. And I think a lot of people were talking back then about like, whoa, is it right to use this? Like, to have friends digitally? Like, what does that even mean? Like, to talk to people only through the internet and not in real life. So like, have friend groups not in real life, and now we can look back at that and think like, gosh, in hindsight, I wish there would have been more cautiousness going into that, because social media has in many ways been detrimental, especially to young people, like TikTok and Instagram, like what it does to young people's minds is very serious.
Yeah,
and
especially
it's like,
young girls.
And so, once again, it's just that as an example, technology moves faster than we can think to keep up with it, So the stuff with AI, like the stuff with AI, where is the line drawn? For me, because I come at this with a certain worldview as a Catholic, and I look at this more philosophically and theologically, and not just like what's convenient for me and what will, I don't look at it in purely materialistic terms. I look at this in what does it do to our humanity? That's the level that I'm looking at it with. So for me, I think the line is, I will never use generative AI for the production of music for any aspect of it. I think that's the line. It's like, if you're going to do that, then you can't call yourself an artist anymore. So we have to create a new category of, are you a prompter? I guess that's what we can call you, as a prompter, but do not call yourself an artist. That is not fair to the rest of the artists that make music the real way,
So you've had some songs that you've produced, you helped produce, that have made Texas country charts, even made #1, correct?
Yeah.
You've heard about this AI country artist that for a while took #1 most streamed artist on the internet, and was a complete AI artist. This person doesn't exist. It was just somebody in their house, a prompter, prompt the song up, and the song is #1 on the charts in country. That's tough, right? As a producer that actually went through with the band and wrote something, and you got the little feeling on your stomach, like, oh, we got something here, and released it, got #1. You got those endorphins, like, oh man, we did it, we got this song. And then all of a sudden, 10 years later, however many, I don't know how long the last song you charted with, however long, 2 years, 3 years later, an AI, a fucking computer took #1. That's got to be like, motherfucker, like, I can't believe this.
Well, it's, well, first of all, there is a little bit of misinformation around that story. So that particular song charted #1 in the digital sales charts.
Okay.
So yeah, so that was not on like Billboard. That was on digital sales, which, as I understand it, it doesn't take a whole lot of digital sales to make it to #1, a few thousand. That means like you could get on iTunes with 3,000 different accounts, buy your song 3,000 times, and get on that particular chart. Yeah. So, but I mean, that doesn't even matter. The point is, like, this is going to happen more and more. And, that's why for me, it's just like, it has to be a hard line. Like, I'm not going to use it. I'm not interested in listening to any music made from it. It's just like, it's a hard no for me, I think there are a lot of people who agree with me, but unfortunately, 98% of people are probably just going to eat it right up and not care, And so I don't know what that does.
Convenience, right?
It's convenience, and a lot of it has to do with it's already so over processed, I guess. So it's already sounds like it's made by a machine because everything's quantized and tuned and perfected to such a degree that, um, yeah, it's like indistinguishable from what a machine can make,
Yeah.
anyways. But
This is not a, like, this is why I'm not a really big fan of any new artists. I'm not talking just in rock in general that's come out
yeah,
in the last 5 to 10 years, because everything just kind of sounds the same. Like I was telling you earlier, like with how easy some of these things have become in the DAW, with the plugins, and everybody's starting to use the same plugins. Like everybody's starting to use presets for mastering or mixing a rock song. And then all of a sudden, because the preset sounds better than what somebody that doesn't know what they're doing is doing, then it starts to become popular. And then eventually, other people are going to start using it because they're lazy to go in there and mix their own song.
yeah,
Like even big producers, like, oh, you know what? I got 10 bands. I'm just going to use this preset real quick. Oh, let me what? That's a good idea. Let me go ahead and sell my preset. And then other people at home can buy this preset. And then everybody starts using the same thing and everything sounds the same.
right, right, yeah, and I see that all the time too on like the
And I'm
ads that
falling
I see
victim
on
to it. I'm
Facebook.
falling victim to it. Like I've bought presets from like producers. Like there's a guy that produced a song that went #1 in a movie, and he's like, "This is what This is how my mind, my process of thinking, is in this preset. So you can go back and look what I was thinking with the song. Like he sold the stem of the song. He sold the stuff. So in one way, it can be educational, but in another way, it can just be an easy cop out for, you know what? Let me just copy and paste here on my song. Done.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, and even if that too for me is like now they are making AI driven plugins, which to me that's not generative AI. Like generative AI is different than these kind of plugin tools, of
Like something that
okay,
you use to
run
complete a song that you're trying to do. Is that
yeah,
what you
run
mean?
your track through
Yeah.
this and it'll AI EQ your kick drum or something.
Sure.
But even then, I go back to the badass factor, the fun factor. You just had a machine EQ your kick drum for you. Why don't you learn how to EQ a kick drum and like learn how to develop taste for where do I boost on the genre? Like learn how to have an ear. That's more badass. That's more like it makes you more of a complete human. Even those little minute details of like EQ or
And it helps you
compression
do
or
it on the
whatever.
fly, right?
Yeah, it
Like
helps
if
you
you
do it on the fly, and
if
it
you're doing
helps
something at
you.
a venue, you get hired, and because of how good your stuff from your bedroom sounds, and you go and you do sound, something starts to go haywire. You're not gonna know what to do,
Right,
and
right.
that that is like so important to know how your frequencies affect the music in a live room. You mixed a wedding that I went to. I saw you there. Everything, every room is different. Every scenario is different. Like you need to know these things. If you really want to call yourself like a well-rounded musician, you need to know how these things affect the sound.
Well, especially too if you're involved in audio production. Like to me, dude, if a pro mixer uses an AI EQ, that is so lame. That is like laughable. You know what I mean? That's just like silliness. That's just I don't know. That's just lazy on like an otherworldly level. And but I don't know. A lot of people are going to disagree with that because I mean it is tough because we're living in this world where it's supposed to be art, but then there's also money involved, and so that's what makes the lines harder to define. I think is the when you put money in it and you commercialize music, which there's nothing wrong with that, but that's when it gets like a little more blurry. But I think it's good to think about it. Like everybody kind of decide for themselves where to draw the line, um, and to at least think about it,
Yeah.
because we're
Right.
trained to like just accept new technology without thinking about it. Don't think about it. Just do it. Just do it now. You know what I mean? This is a new
Yeah.
technology. Therefore it's good. Therefore you should use it. Don't think about it. Just, you know, give us your money and, you know,
New,
you'll be,
new, 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 new
yeah,
this, new that, new this, new that. Try this, try that.
right. Right.
Yeah, and
But
and like especially like when it comes to technology, like as soon as things starts to get adopted, it also like for the company is good, right? Because supply and demand, stock prices goes up. You can sell a piece of gear for more money. Like for example, I have the Quad Cortex. When I first bought the Quad Cortex, I was, you know, I don't know how early into their life of the Quad Cortex was, but I want to say it was within the first 6 months of the product being out that I got it. And so that to me is like an early adopter. Right now, the piece of gear that I have that I bought for 12, 1300 back on launch price, it's like $1,800 now, $1,900. And it's just supply and
wow.
demand. Yeah, it's just so much more expensive. And they just released the Quad Cortex Mini, which is man, probably half the size of this Quad Cortex that I have with a big old screen and four knobs. And it goes for the same price that I bought the big real thing for back when it launched. And again, I don't want to seem like this is sponsored by Nero DSP, but I love this thing. Like I do everything with it. I play my acoustic gigs with it. I play all the bands that I play with. I use this. To me, it's because of my day job. I use my body a lot, so it's helped me take wear and tear from my body because I don't have to carry a 412 with a 50-pound head everywhere. Um, it's first of all, it doesn't even fit on my car. Uh,
Yeah.
Much less, I have to travel for band practice. So that's been good for me. When I show up to a venue, the front of house engineers are like, "Oh, thank God! All I have to do is
Yeah.
put this one cable here on your output, and I don't have to sit here and mess with mics and do this and do that." Um, Again, pros and cons to everything, right? You
Yeah.
say
I think
you,
live is a
yeah.
different animal.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like live. If I was playing in a band regularly, I'm right there with you. I would just use an amp sim, you know, unless it was a band that was on only original band where like we had a sound. Then I would probably use an amp and like have that specific rig. But if I'm playing covers or whatever, yeah, it makes way more sense to have an amp sim because you can have the tones for each song and of course you can keep stage volume low and all that.
And the cool
So
thing is you
yeah.
get to try stuff that you otherwise wouldn't be able to try. For example, I just tried a dumble for the first time. I don't have a dumble. I'm probably never going to be able to sit in a room with a dumble and plug it in and play it. But from what I've, and then you go on YouTube and you do your research and you say, let's see what other people are saying about this. And, some people are like, I can tell that this is not a real dumble, but it's pretty damn close. So it's
Yeah.
like, I didn't play a real Dumble, but I played something that's close enough to it. And I liked it. I actually replaced a bunch of my clean patches with the sim from the Dumble that they just released with the new technology, whatever. Because when they first released the Quad Cortex, they future proofed it. So they put the technology inside of it is like really unnecessary for what it was doing at a time. But as the years have gone by, they've added more stuff to it, and the software that's in there, it's been able to, and the hardware, it's been able to keep up with like the advancements in technology. And I think they future proofed it really well. So they keep adding all these stuff and new captures and new technologies to do these things. So it's cool for me to use like the same Marshall amp that Chris Cornell used when they recorded Black Hole Sun.
Right.
It's not the same thing, but it's like 98% of the 100% of the real thing. There's always going
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
be that one thing. But to me, it's cool because then I get to play, like you said, I get to play live. And to the untrained ear, it's like, oh, wow, that sounds just like the recording,
Yeah.
You get
Yeah.
to
And
trick
in those
people a little.
like, yeah, the applications you're talking about, I'm not as harsh on. What I am harsh on is people making art. Like, and so if the amp thing is an interesting concept because I mean, when I was growing up, I was playing guitar. I barely had any money and I wanted to buy an amp and I would just go buy like the best amp I could. I didn't really know what I was buying. And then I bought like a pedal and then a few months later another pedal. Had no idea what I was doing. And but you end up kind of making this sound where it's like you have your own unique sound based on your equipment and what you're able to kind of concoct for yourself. And like there's something about that that is much cooler than just like having a Kemper and having, you know, a
Everything
million
at the palm
sounds.
of your hands, right? Because then you
Yeah,
get paralysis
especially
by analysis because there's so much to choose from. You don't know what the hell you're going to choose.
yeah, and especially in the context of a band, like I love it when I get to record because I work with a lot of solo artists. So when I get to record a band though, they often will ask me, do I need to bring any of my equipment or can we just use your amps? I'm like, dude, please bring your equipment because that's what makes it sound like you. You know, that's what gives it the signature sound.
Yeah.
And a lot of those signature sounds that um, we've heard and we've grown to love throughout the years have been kind of through happy accidents. Like just this amp happened to be the available one. So we're going to use it. We're going to buy it from the store and that's going to be it. You know, this snare drum just happened to catch my eye at Guitar Center and it becomes the snare drum on this mega huge record, you know,
So
that
many
you've
stories
never,
about number one hit singles of being exactly like that. We use what's available.
yeah. And so there's something to that though, that allows people to create like something that sounds signature and not generic, what you were talking about earlier, you know?
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know. Too
Interesting, right?
tempting to like keep switching from different patches on a Kemper, you know, it's too tempting.
Yeah. I mean, with Seattle Rising, we just wrote, original music last year or the year before that. But for the most part, we are a band that sells nostalgia. We sell that feeling of when you heard that song for the first time. And if it doesn't sound like that song, we're not selling you that feeling. So it's very important to
Yeah,
to have as close as possible
for
to
sure.
that song, as close as possible to the actual recording. You can, extend an outro or a bridge or something for live purposes. But they're going to look for certain things, certain ways you sing a song or the way that solo sustains at the end, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So it's very, in that case, it's very helpful to have a piece of equipment like this. Whenever I recorded the Res albums with you, I had that Egnator that I ended up selling, and I wish I hadn't. And I think it's going to be one of those things that I'm going to hopefully in the near future get back is that particular amp. Because I miss having an actual amp in the room,
Yeah. Yeah.
feeling the thump of the speakers kind of thumping back at you when you're chugging a drop D chord or whatever. It is different. Like having the walls kind of shake a little bit.
Yeah. It
The
is
things that are in
different.
the walls rattle.
Yeah. And just using that, like recording an amp, it's never going to sound the same. I mean, cause you can move a microphone like a centimeter and the tone's going to change. So that's another one of the beautiful things about recording a real amp is you really do have a totally different sound every single time you use it. You know, every recording is going to sound unique. And, yeah, I see these ads on Facebook for like drum samples or guitar sample packs or whatever. And it's just like, yeah, those drums just sound the same as the drum sample pack I just saw 2 seconds ago, you know, like all this like perfectly made drum sample pack and it
Perfectly
all sounds the
tuned,
same.
ready to
And
go. I like it.
yeah,
I like it when I see mix ready. Like when the
oh, mix ready. Yeah.
yeah, mix ready. Or already mixed, ready to go, just plug and play or whatever it is.
Yeah.
You said you're going through YouTube. Do you ever like go into like producers YouTube channels, or do you try to stay away from music content on YouTube, even though YouTube, I guess it's not just primary for me. It's for anything really. Do you stay away from that kind of stuff? Because like some people, for example, a certain person that we know, I was like, hey, check this, the way that this guy writes a song. And I'm talking about Ryan Tedder. You heard of that name, Ryan Tedder?
No.
He's a singer for One Republic. And if you look at a bunch of songs in the charts, he's got a lot of them. So he's not just a One Republic singer and writer. He's like a producer for a lot of bands, like Adele. I mean, you name it, dude. He's on a lot of songs. So there's tons of videos of him explaining how he writes his songs and how he goes about creating a vocal melody or a catchy chord progression or in this and that. And I've told this person, hey, this is really interesting, man. Like, you should check this out. And he's like, hard pass. I'm not going to look at this because I don't want to be influenced by that. Now, are you the same way, or do you look at that kind of stuff like, oh, this is cool. Let me see how this guy that has a bunch of hits writes his stuff to see if it will help me get better at writing? Or do you think, no, I'm not going to do that because I don't want it to influence the way I think?
No. So I watch stuff all the time. I consider my education in this field to be ongoing. And that's another part of like just putting in as much work as you can on whatever you're doing. After work, it doesn't matter if I've been doing music all day, like I will go and I'll still watch stuff on music production up at the house and smoke a cigar and just like continue to learn, I am more selective as to the people I watch now. Like early on in my career, I would watch like mixing tips videos and stuff like that. But now I'm way more selective and I want to hear from people who have been doing it a long time, like 30 years plus. Those are the people that I really take a lot of stock in, and it's less of the like mix tips, how to make your, snare drum sound better or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So.
You like Rick Beato? Do you watch his stuff?
Yeah. I love Rick Beato's channel.
I love when he does the Spotify stuff.
Oh yeah, dude. He gets so much hate for a lot of that. I'm surprised how many people don't like Rick Beato. He's just like so awesome.
Oh, I love him,
and
he's
so
great.
Insightful. But yeah,
and it just always cracks me up. Like, it just always cracks me up. Like how, like he'll be bobbing his head, like, yeah, I like the song, and like he'll try to figure it out, and then he's like, yeah, this song is not very creative.
Yeah, right. But yeah, oh my gosh, you could get a degree in music theory just from watching his channel alone.
Yeah. I've seen people like do reviews of his stuff. Like the books that he puts out and the like educational stuff that he sells. Obviously he needs to make a living too. But some people say, just, I guess everybody's different, but there's a guy in particular that says, everything that he's teaching here, you can learn on YouTube from somebody else for free. You don't have to, pay $99 to get 6 books. And then you jump into it and he's talking to you like you've been playing music for 30 years when you're a beginner trying to learn it. And some people say it's been really helpful. I've never had it. I think I have one of his ebooks, and I'm one of those guys that I'm like, if I see something like and like an ebook from like a guy that I really respect, that knows their shit, I was like, oh, this is gonna come in handy one day. Let me go ahead and get this right now and add it to my library of things I've never read.
Right. Yeah, I bought his whole pack for like $80 or something. It was on sale a couple of years ago.
I've been tempted to do that so many times.
Yeah, I was going through the ear training course because he has an ear training course that's interactive. And so it just goes through and it starts you off with recognizing certain intervals and then chords and everything. And man, it was actually a lot more tricky than I thought it would be. Like it was pretty hard. It took a lot of brain power, and I kind of stopped. I would try to do a little bit every night, Yeah. But
so even for you, that you've been doing this a long time, like you thought, like this is actually taking a lot for me to keep up. A lot of brain
power. Yeah.
That's interesting.
But yeah, no, I always try to learn more. And right now I'm going through a music theory book. It's like 200 pages long. It's a small little music theory book, but that's one of my
physical book.
Yeah, physical book. So I have I actually have a study now up. I made part of my attic a room with ventilation so I can smoke cigars in my
Ah,
little room.
yeah.
And, and I've got like artwork up there and stuff, and it looks real high class. And, that's one of my things I do up there. It's one of my commitments is like, I'm going to use this room to learn as much as I can. So, um,
It's kind of like your space that once you walk in through that door, you know why you're there.
exactly. So, I'm working through a music theory book right now, and that's kind of my thing. I'm just thinking like I'm going to read multiple music theory books for the next year or two and
Hmm.
just keep the same thing over and over again, just get it ingrained in my head. Cause I actually don't have, I have seventh grade music theory training and then I stopped. So the more I've learned about it though, the more it's helped
Hmm.
in producing music and in just communicating with people and everything. Super, super important. So that's kind of one of my things right now. But,
So you
um,
recommend like anybody starting, it doesn't matter if it's a beginner or been doing this for a while and they've never really dove deep into music theory to like start doing it?
I think so. I've learned guitar, I won't say the wrong way, but I thought playing by ear was a cool, good thing. And there is something very important about that. Like if you're able to listen to a song and figure it out, which I'm sure you do all the
Hmm.
time, um, that is an important skill. But what I realized is I'm listening to a song and I'm figuring it out, but I don't know why it's working. And so music theory gives you the why, like on a guitar solo. And dude, by the way, I greatly respect y'all's approach with Seattle Rising of like trying to play the songs as accurate as you can to the originals. And I think that's the way a cover band should work,
Yeah.
not putting your own spin on everything.
Yeah.
But I'm sure you've realized this, like when you're working through a guitar solo or something on one of the songs in the set list. And for me, I always tried to learn guitar solos note for note on cover songs.
Oh, yeah.
And so I would memorize them, but then I didn't realize like what I was actually doing musically. Like when I'm on the one chord, why does these collection of notes work? Well, even though like I could have used more notes in the scale, like why do these work in particular and why does it feel this way? So that's like what I'm trying to catch up on, uh, and I think that's extremely important. Because it gives you the whole language and the reason why certain things work, because yeah, you can get on a piano and mess around until you have some chords that work
Hmm.
together. But if you already know, like, hey, I'm going for this mood, I'm going for this vibe, I could use these
Right.
chords and they'll give me that, then your effectiveness skyrockets.
Yeah, because then your solo can match your mood or even make it like a dissonant sort of thing to like really kind of throw you off.
Right,
But if you know the reason why behind it, it works that much better.
right, right.
Yeah, this is what I did.
And there are
I've
patterns.
yeah,
There are
yes.
patterns that give you certain emotions and stuff. So if you kind of know like the patterns of why things make us feel a certain way, then you could take those patterns and apply it into what you're working on and like become more effective at delivering the message you want to deliver through your music. That's which I think that's the greatest achievement in music production is when you can have this kind of like what I talked about earlier, where you have the lyrics, the melody, and the music, and the presentation of it sonically, all married together to give this united message of like what the artist was trying to say. And so, I think music theory definitely helps with that for sure.
Yeah, I had a I had a friend. Um, he tried learning the guitar solo for Black Hole Sun, and he would just he actually just played. He would play not the solo. He wouldn't play the solo, and I'm like, why aren't you playing the solo? He's like, dude, the solo is just a bunch of gibberish. I'm like, well, what are you talking about though? So. And then when I got to play guitar for Seattle Rising, because I was playing bass for Seattle Rising, and our guitar player passed away, um, I realized then the importance of playing stuff note for note for bands like that, because he's not just playing gibberish. Like
Right.
Black Hole Sun is a complex song, and what he chose to do during that guitar solo very much fits the mood of the entire song. For you to play that song and not play the solo, you might as well just not play the song.
Right. Right.
It's a chaotic, it's crazy solo. There's probably 2 or 3 delays going on, and there's like a wasp. There's like 2 or 3 different things happening within that one solo itself that's creating that chaotic mood of that bridge. It's kind of like a storm that, and then once the solo stops, like the storm's over. Hang my head, drown my fear. Like there's a reason as to why the solo was like that. And so it's just interesting. Like I'm really like, sometimes my bandmates of Seattle Rising get annoyed with me, but like I'm a stickler for playing like, if we're gonna sell this feeling, we better fucking sell it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's great, man. That's what, whenever I was in college and a little bit after college, I had a cover band. We did 70s, 80s, 90s rock. And that's what we tried to do. We tried to make it exact. I mean, as exact as you could get to the original. And because I think that's what people want to hear, when they're at the bar or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They want to hear
like
the
playing
original.
Smashing Pumpkins without a fuzz pedal. Like, what are you doing?
Right.
It's a quintessential sound of that band is a fuzz pedal. If you're going to play that band without a fuzz, it's not Smashing Pumpkins.
Right.
It's Smashing Papas. Dude, do you have anything you want to talk about? Anything that you feel like we haven't addressed?
No, I mean, I think we had a pretty good talk.
Yeah, man, I think so too. Do you want to tell people if they're looking for, do you do like online mixing and that stuff as well? Or do you just want to do that kind of stuff with people that you work with, like in person?
I do. I mix some stuff where I didn't work on it at all. People just send it to me and I mix it. So yeah, you can find me on soundmachinestudio.com and then on Instagram, Sound Machine Studio. And if you want to work with, I guess I'm now like an old curmudgeon who just hates new technology, but if that's somebody you want to work with, hit me up.
Right in front of Mason, there's this huge console. It's nothing but knobs. He's just turning knobs all day long.
Yeah.
Mason, thank you so much, bro. This was really fun. Every time we get together, I always love talking to you, man. You're always such a good talk, such a good hang. So I appreciate you doing this, man.
Thanks, man. Likewise.
All right. That's it, everybody. Make sure you like and follow. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you subscribe to Mason. He always posts really cool tidbits on his Instagram. There's always real cool videos from Mason. So make sure you do all that, and see you on the next one.